Don't you think that if we encourage live-in relationship, same-sex marriage, it will destroy the basic fabric of the institutions like marriage and family?
You're a Delhi person. You're into parliamentary debating. When you look at the scenes and the behavior of councillors in the MCD house, what do you feel?
What kind of policy design do we need, and what kind of legal and regulatory framework we need so as to give the fourth industrial revolution a healthy shape and direction?
Why we have seen more corruption in developing nation rather than the developed nation?
As you are from Delhi NCR, tell me something about draft master plan for Delhi 2041.
May I come in?
Yes, come in.
Thank you, sir. Morning, sir. Morning.
Please be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Please give a brief introduction about yourself.
So my name is Tanmai Khanna. I was born in Delhi and I grew up here. When I was in middle school, along with my family, I moved to Noida, but I continued to go to the same school in Delhi. After I finished my school, I went to Hyderabad. In IIIT Hyderabad, I studied computational linguistics, where I obtained a bachelor's as well as a master's as part of a dual degree. I graduated in 2021, after which I prepared for this exam. Right after giving my mains examination, I was offered a position in my former research lab, where I'm currently working as a language analyst.
Which research lab you said?
The IIIT research lab, my university.
So where are you working?
In the research lab.
Where? In Hyderabad?
In Hyderabad, but I work remotely.
Okay.
From my home in Noida.
So you are doing such an excellent work there. Why are you shifting your gear?
Sir, it's actually because of the work that I'm doing there that I want to enter the civil services. The turning point for me was when I started working on several government-funded projects such as Swayam and Bhashini. And by contributing to these projects, I realized the scope of what the government can do and how I want to do much more than contribute through software. That I want to be on the ground near to the people that I want to help and contribute much more than just from my software.
Okay. Tanmai, tell me, I was going through your order of preference. Why have you preferred customs over income tax service?
So I looked at the job profile of both of those services, and in comparison, I read and several of seniors also told me that customs is a much more diverse job. It helps you work closer to the ground. You can work in ports, you can work in different areas of the country, closer to the people, as well as
but don't you think that income tax also does the same, play the same role which customs play? This also brings you closer to the people.
Yes, sir. It's just in comparison, I read that income tax is closer to a desk job compared to customs, which allows you that opportunity.
Okay. And you have no love for Indian Foreign Service?
Of course I do, sir. And if I get that service, I would gladly serve in it. It's just that compared to the police service and the revenue service, I felt that those job profiles are more closer to my interest and my motivation to enter the services.
Tanmai, you have a wonderful communication skill. You have passed out from a prestigious institute, but still you didn't find yourself suitable to represent India outside the country as a member of Indian Foreign Service.
So I felt that those skills would also help in the police and the revenue services as well.
Okay. You have opted for sociology as your optional paper. Na? Tell me, why did you choose sociology over any engineering or a science subject?
So the first reason was that both of the subjects that I studied, computer science and linguistics, were not optionals in the thing. Apart from that, sociology is closer to linguistics, where I've studied several subjects, several courses in sociolinguistics, where we study how language and society have a close interface and link with each other. Thirdly, I felt that sociology would really help me in the administration as well, to understand the society that we live in and understand the social issues that we face in society today.
What do you consider as the building block of any society? Which unit is the building block of any society?
So the building block of any society, I believe, would be cooperation and communication between different people.
Okay. And how about the family?
Yes, sir. Family is one structure that is almost universal across all societies, which helps people grow in their formative stages and make them into active citizens of the society.
So, you have studied sociology. Tell me how family structure and dynamics have changed in India over the period of time.
Yes, sir. So, particularly after India saw the globalization reforms in 1991, we've seen that families have become more nuclear, particularly in urban centers where people migrate away from joint families. Due to the cost of living, also families have become smaller. People choose to have less children so as to give them education throughout their life. Apart from that, families have also become more egalitarian. They've also become more focused on the parents as a couple. It is said that earlier the function of a family was more geared towards the lineage of a family and the entire structure, entire joint family, whereas now two people tend to come together, look at their compatibility as people, and then join into a marriage and choose to have a family.
What are your views on live-in relationship?
Live-in relationships is another structure that we've seen grow recently. I believe that it is an effect of the way society changes. As more individualism seeps into society, people tend to want flexibility in relationships, where they want the benefits that come out of companionship, but also don't want to tie themselves into legal structures such as a marriage. So I believe that it's just society changing as time goes on.
Don't you think the time has come in our country when we should legalize a live-in relationship?
Yes, sir. Even the Supreme Court has in several judgments extended benefits to live-in relationships, which they already extend to marriage. I believe that we probably don't need to legalize live-in relationships, because a fundamental point there is that they maybe don't want to enter legal relationships, and if they do want legality in there, people can get married and avail those benefits.
Okay, and your views on same-sex marriage?
So my views on same-sex marriage are similar. As society evolves, we tend to accept differences, we tend to accept individual choices, and if someone chooses to be in a same-sex relationship, we as a society shouldn't stop them from doing so.
But don't you think that if we encourage live-in relationship, same-sex marriage, it will destroy the basic fabric of the institutions like marriage and family?
So, live-in relationships and same-sex marriages have been around in our society for some time, and in Western societies for much longer. But even now, marriage is a very popular institution because it has a utility economically, socially. So, I don't think that it will destroy the nature of marriage. It will just evolve as time goes on.
Okay, thank you, Tanmai.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Tanmai.
Hello, sir.
Tanmai, you are a postgraduate from IIT Hyderabad. Computational linguistics is your subject. Incidentally, that is what my subject is also there. So let's talk. Tell me, why, by the way, you're spelling Tanmai rather than Y-S-I. Tell me the linguistic aspect of it. Why your parents chose I over Y?
So the reason they chose is that it represented its pronunciation more accurately. In Hindi, my name can be spelled clearly, it's Tanmai. So my mom said that if I put a Y, it will seem like it's Tanmay, whereas my name was Tanmai. So to represent that pronunciation, she chose a I instead.
Tell me, when we talk about computational linguistics, usually we talk about the sentiment analysis. What is essay? What is sentiment analysis?
Yes, sir. So in sentiment analysis is a subfield of computational linguistics where we want to analyze text that is given and see which sentiment it gears towards. I've seen it more often in terms of reviews, where people want to automatically analyze a large data of reviews and see which sentiment people are choosing, rather than just adhering to the stars. We want to analyze their language and see if it's positive or negative.
Is it a pre-trained AI thing, or it has to do with some other coefficients involved?
Yes, sir. Pre-trained AI is one way to do it. We give it a lot of data, which is manually marked by people that this is positive and this is negative, and then we can train models on it.
If you want to evolve a essay coefficient, how can we go about it? A constant index, to be precise.
So if I understand your question correctly,
how to evolve a sentiment analysis index for any language or any users?
We can, if we don't want to train a model on it based on data that we've labeled, we can also use certain linguistic features and certain keywords that we can analyze that people are using.
You're talking passionately about it. Why there's no research paper in your name?
I have a research paper in machine translation.
You have not mentioned it.
Yes, sir.
Not to mention it.
Yes, sir. I didn't mention in the DEF.
You've also mentioned that you're into parliamentary debating. How a PD is different from CD?
So, in a conventional debate, you're given the topic beforehand and you have to prepare, you have to research on it. In a parliamentary debate, we were given the topic 15 minutes before the debate starts, and it's a team effort. So 3 people in a team, they discuss the topic for 15 minutes, and then the debate starts. And the fundamental idea in a parliamentary debate is there's a lot of back and forth between 2 teams. So
you're a Delhi person, you're into parliamentary debating. When you look at the scenes and the behavior of councillors in the MCD house, what do you feel? Tell me about emotions there. You see the chappals going, you see those bottles going, rather than a parliamentary form of debating, giving you some kind of assurance that my councillors are looking after me.
So I feel disappointed in seeing those scenes, but I understand that there is a lot of complicated business when it comes to parliaments, and with a lot of political parties, there's a lot of emotion when these debates take place. However, I do agree that the parliamentarians that we elect should have more self-restraint and focus on using these arenas to debate issues rather than...
Behavior of an elected representative in house is reflection of what is happening in the society, or it's disconnected from that and it's the power that's playing only there?
So it's probably a mixture of both, in that once people are elected, the power definitely has a part of it. But yes, as a society, maybe we have not been encouraging healthy scrutiny and healthy debating between each other on issues rather than just taking extreme positions.
Compare this city council behavior with the Seattle city council behavior. You're a sociology student. They are able to criminalize, they are able to outlaw caste discrimination. We are still throwing chappals.
Yes, sir. The Seattle City Council was definitely an inspirational move by them, where they were able to outlaw.
But there appears to be no pat from the union government, the India, on that. On the contrary, it appears that India is not very happy that Seattle criminalized what should be criminalized everywhere.
So some people have claimed that it's a way to defame the Indian population in America.
What's your take?
My take is that the bill very clearly decriminalizes discrimination, and there's no problem in doing that, something that's already been done in India. And it was based on research by Equality Labs as well. So it's research-driven legislation. I don't believe there should be a problem with it.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tanmai, industrial revolutions have been quite disruptive for social structures and social values across the first, second, third industrial revolutions. Now we are into the fourth industrial revolution. How it will impact the Indian social system particularly?
Yes, sir. So the fourth industrial revolution brings with it the forefront of our technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, 5G, Internet of Things. The first thing that it will change is that it brings instant connectivity between different people, which makes our social structures different. As we were discussing for families earlier, how migration used to mean that families now become disconnected. With Internet of Things and 5G, families don't have to be disconnected anymore, even though people migrate from different centers. Secondly, tier 2, tier 3 cities are coming up because people realize they don't need to just move to the metropolitan centers, that connectivity has improved. There are also some negative outcomes of it, where social media has also harmed our self-perception. There are body image issues that come with using too much social media. People tend to get addicted to social media because it's so readily available. And there are a lot of algorithms at work to give you exactly the kind of entertainment you need at every point of time. So these are some of the changes that we've seen.
And this deep faking technology can widely be misused.
Yes, sir, definitely. And with the improvement of AI, deep fakes are definitely becoming a concern now, something that we have to start regulating very effectively.
So what kind of policy design do we need, and what kind of legal and regulatory framework we need, so as to give the fourth industrial revolution a healthy shape and direction?
Yes, sir. Talking about deep fakes, we definitely need stricter tracing and regulation of deep fakes, which is something that blockchains have shown to be very capable of. So we can trace how video or deep fake is made and who made it if it comes in the public fora. Secondly, in the IT rules of 2021, we've seen that digital intermediaries have become more responsible and are being made to be more responsible. So if someone raises a complaint about something that exists online, they need to respond in 24 hours, take it down in 72 hours. Lastly, digital data protection is also becoming a major concern, and data localization norms are one way to help that.
Another dimension is that the first and second industrial revolutions were utilized by the Western powers to assert and achieve their colonial interests. How can the fourth industrial revolution's technologies may be misused by some powers of the world to bring about a new wave of colonial control on societies of Latin America, Africa, and Asia?
Yes, sir. So, as you rightly said, the first and second industrial revolution were used by countries. It seems like the fourth revolution can be used by companies, where IT conglomerates are becoming larger than several countries in the world, and they're gaining a lot of control. In elections in different countries, they can affect that. They can also affect the legal systems in several countries. So we definitely need to regulate the mega conglomerates like Google, Apple, and that's something that our government is doing very effectively.
So in this context, do you think that the agenda of G20, which we are hosting this year, is discussing some meaningful issues?
Yes, sir. So G20, first of all, is focusing on the voice of the Global South, where in the last several decades, the Global South has just been something that the Western powers talk about, but now we want the Global South to participate in the decision-making process. Secondly, the digitalization that India is promoting is one that is also open and transparent, where we're promoting open source technologies. We're sending out CoWIN to all the countries that need it. UPI is being connected to different payment systems. So we're creating a very open and secure digital framework.
And finally, do you think that this fourth industrial revolution is making UN system increasingly redundant?
So the UN is struggling in certain areas, particularly the Security Council is struggling to have meaningful effect on the different powers. However, the UN is a broad body with environmental concerns, cultural concerns, social concerns. So ultimately, I feel like this will help the UN achieve its aims in different countries.
Okay, thank you, Tanmai.
Thank you, sir.
Tanmai, recently UN population report came, right? It says that every fifth Indian could be 65-year-old in 2050, correct? So what steps should be taken to protect aged people? What is your opinion?
Yes, sir. So we've always talked about our demographic dividend, but our population is certainly getting older now. And to do that, we have certain measures that we've taken. Pensions are seeing a big focus recently, and we want to improve access to pensions as well as the amount of pensions that people get so that they can have adequate social security once they retire at the age of 60. Apart from that, old age homes are being created across different centers. There are also legal rights of parents that we're analyzing now so that children can't abandon their parents, or if they're living separately, there has to be a certain amount of allowance that is being given. And lastly, active aging is something that we're talking about as well. So people need to be mentally, physically active as they age, and their health concerns, particularly in terms of non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, is also something we're focusing on.
You just said that legal provisions are required, correct? Tell me some provisions of Maintenance of Parents and Senior Citizen Act 2007.
So I won't be able to recall that provision.
Do you believe that a separate ministry for the aged people should be established nowadays? It's a high time to establish a separate ministry.
Yes, sir. As our population ages, we already have a Ministry of Women and Child Welfare. So Ministry of Old Age Persons can definitely be considered.
Article 41 is dealing with what?
So I won't be able to recall it verbatim, but it basically says that the state should provide assistance to people in times of sickness, in times of unemployment, and in times of old age.
Okay. Why we have seen more corruption in developing nation rather than the developed nation?
So there are several factors at play there. One of the reasons can be that developing countries have a lot of informal structures at play, and they have a lot of discretionary powers at several stages, which the ARC report says is one of the major reasons at corruption, having discretion at different stages. Secondly, in developing nations, the state often has a monopoly in providing several services, and wherever the state will have a monopoly, there will be some corruption at the lower stages.
What's the root cause of corruption? Be specific. 2-3 points.
So the root cause of corruption, one of them is, of course, greed in people individually. Secondly, it's in sociology, one of the things that we studied is that it's a mismatch between what society aims for versus what people are able to achieve. So we value people who are rich and who are successful, but a big part of the population may not be able to access that much money to get that dream. So that mismatch makes people resort to illegal tactics to reach
What
that.
about the secrecy, rigid rules, regulation of the government?
Yes, sir. So the regulations are a big part of it, where when you have rigid rules, people in power can use them to extort.
Tanmai, do you believe that our ombudsman kind of institution like Lokpal and Lokayukta in the various states are working as a cosmetic organization, and the huge reform is required, or intensive reform is required? What is your opinion about these ombudsman kind of institution?
So the Lokpal and Lokayukt have been working, I would say, fairly well. They've been taking up issues, they've been taking up complaints, and they've been dealing with it. I wouldn't say that it's just cosmetic. However, it is a big problem, and we are a fairly young nation, so we are dealing with it. But I think that they are doing a good job in dealing with corruption cases, and the public opinion about Lokpal and Lokayukt is also fairly encouraging.
But why we are not proceeding for the establishment of a statute called Right to Hearing Act rather than these ombudsman kind of institution? Rajasthan is the one who has adopted a statute called Right to Hearing Act.
So I'm sorry, I haven't prepared enough. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Tanmai.
Yes, sir.
Tanmai, today we are in 5th generation of warfare, right? And I would like you to assess the India's armed forces, especially vis-a-vis China in 5th generation of warfare.
Yes, sir. So we've seen that recently there's been several attacks on Indian institutions in the cyber sphere. The most recent one being AIMS, which was later assessed that there was a Chinese group that was responsible in putting that ransomware in AIMS. In terms of our preparedness for it, only a few years ago we've established the Defense Cyber Agency, which is a tri-services agency that gets its expertise and its resources from all the 3 services, and they aim at analyzing these threats and preparing us to not only defend ourselves from these threats, but also have some sort of counter-offensive against these threats if it's needed. Apart from that, the NTRO is an organization under the PMO that focuses on gathering intelligence about these cyber criminals and different bodies, and this intelligence ultimately also helps all of these agencies in dealing with these. And lastly, CERT-In also responds to these attacks as soon as they happen.
Okay, but you are covering only one facet of this new generation of warfare, that is cyber attacks. But there are also other aspects, non-contact and non-kinematic aspects, maybe social engineering, maybe artificial intelligence and autonomous systems in warfare. Tell me something about those components also.
Yes, sir. So social engineering is also another really powerful measure that these organizations use to deal with these sort of warfare attacks. We're trying to regulate social media much more. As we discussed earlier, we're trying to create grievance committees for social media as well as grievance appellate committees. So if we find these sort of cases, we can very quickly take them down and prevent any kind of social engineering on social media, deal with fake news, deep fakes, and such.
What is Colombo Security Conclave?
So the Colombo Security Conclave was a summit that was organized recently. It involved, if I recall correctly, it involved India, Sri Lanka and Maldives. And these three countries came together to discuss security issues across these all generations of warfare.
Okay. We have policies in our foreign engagements, like we have Look West policy, we have Look East policy that is being now turned into Act East policy. So what is more important for us, like whether it is Look West or Look East or Look North, that is connecting to Central Asia? So among these three components, would you like to focus upon?
So out of these three, I believe that probably Act East is still the most promising out of these three. Countries in Southeast Asia are performing really well in terms of their economy. Countries like Vietnam are performing really well in agricultural and textile exports. These countries, if we have good economic trade relations with, they can definitely help us and help them as well. The reason I rank it over West and North is that this is one region that's largely free from that kind of conflict, where the North, the more we engage with Russia and Central Asia, there's a conflict with USA. And in the West, there's a lot of conflict happening in several different powers. East Asia, while China is being belligerent in these areas, are largely focused on fast-growing economies, something that we also want to focus on as a nation.
Okay, you are mainly concerned about the economic aspects of this Act East. What are the other components of the Act East policies? And that's why we should be there in the region.
So one of the other components is that it also helps more connectivity with our own northeast of India, which has been ignored for several decades. So the more we connect with East Asia, the more development happens in our own northeast. Apart from that, security issues is something that's also being taken into account there with growing militancy in certain northeast areas, or the recent coup that happened in Myanmar. In these cases, we also want to discuss growing security challenges in these areas.
My last question to you is, as you are from Delhi NCR, tell me something about Draft Master Plan for Delhi 2041.
Yes, sir. So the Draft Master Plan for 2041 basically wants to create Delhi as a smart, sustainable city, where we want sustainable waste management. We want to have had a grip on the pollution, the air pollution and the water pollution. Apart from that, it also focuses on creating green spaces. It wants to create walkable parts of the city as well as create biking paths along the city. So to create like a smart and sustainable green city is the fundamental aim.
Tanmai, name any three Indian sociologists.
So three Indian sociologists would be M.N. Srinivas, G.S. Ghurye, Iravati Karve is one.
Okay, who propounded the theory of modernization?
Mr. Yogendra Singh.
Yogendra Singh. What is the contribution of M.N. Srinivas?
So M.N. Srinivas basically brought the element of field study in Indian sociology, where earlier Indology was seen as the main framework of analyzing it.
What is Sanskritization?
So Sanskritization is a process by which a group that is lower in the status group or in the caste group, they take up certain elements of higher caste, such as the way they dress or the way the things they eat, as to increase their social standing in that society.
In a modern era, do you think people still follow Sanskritization?
So to some extent, it's seen in certain areas.
Can you give us one example?
From a modern era, I won't be able to recall.
Okay, you also love rock music and Bollywood music, and you love to sing also. Please sing a Bollywood song which is very close to your heart and for our benefit.
Yes, sir. So I'll sing a song called Mitwa. मेरे मन ये बता दे तू किस ओर चला है तू क्या पाया नहीं तूने क्या ढूंढ रहा है तू जो है अनकही जो है अनसुनी वो बात क्या है बता मितवा कहे धड़कने तुझसे क्या मितवा ये खुद से तो ना तू छुपा.
Thank you very much. Tanmai, your
so
interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sit down, Tanmai.
Thank you, sir.
Tanmai, this is going to be your first interview at the UPSC?
Yes, sir.
And which attempt?
First attempt.
First attempt. Excellent. Excellent. How was your performance in the mains?
Sir, I thought that maybe I didn't reach my full potential in mains, but it's hard to know based on how others.
Exactly. It's always, but as far as you are concerned, you are by and large satisfied with your performance.
Yes, sir.
That's wonderful. And how about today's experience, Tanmai?
So I really enjoyed it.
Okay, we too enjoyed with you. You see, Tanmai, you are an excellent candidate for the civil services.
Thank
You have
you, sir.
all the potentials of a prospective civil servant.
Thank you.
And unless until you do something drastically wrong in your interview, you are going to get very good marks in the interview. We have no doubt in our mind, because your communication skill is excellent. Whatever you wanted to convey, you could convey in a very lucid manner, in a very crisp manner, which is what is required in the personality test. You see, personality test means personality. It's not a question answer session.
Yes.
So while asking questions, the board will like to look at various facets of your personality, isn't it?
Yes.
Then the first and foremost quality of a prospective civil servant is his personal integrity and the integrity, honesty of purpose. How honestly you have tried to attempt answering questions. So you have all the qualities in abundance. Then you stayed cool, calm, composed throughout the session is another good quality in you. You stayed firm also. You had your opinion on something, and it was not off the cuff opinion. It was based on sound logic, sound argument, and facts. Wherever you did not know, you are candid enough to admit, sir, I don't know. It's another good quality. So don't, when you go for the interview, make sure that don't enter into the area of guesswork. No surmises, no conjectures. Make sure. Otherwise, we couldn't see anything where we can ask you to improve upon your performance. But as because you have opted for sociology, some questions on sociology, what question will be asked, nobody can answer. But the theories of Indian sociologists, so you must be, and then you are asked to name 2, 3, 4, 5 names. It should come automatically in your mind because you have studied this subject. And the contribution of each sociologist, major contributions, and what is the, and its linkage to the present day India.
Yes, sir.
What is in the present context, how relevant those theories are. So that is what may be asked, we don't know. And otherwise, on all other areas, you have many hobbies and all that. We try to, in a limited time, we try to discuss with you on certain aspects of your hobbies. So you are absolutely excellent in those areas.
Thank you.
So by any stretch of imagination, you should not be getting anything less than 200. You should be scoring above 200, unless and until something fundamentally goes wrong there. Then what about your, I think when you go for the interview, it's a long time, no? Say on 11th, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Go for a haircut.
I will, yes, sir.
That is important. You have a very good personality. Maintain your positive body language and the smile on your face, which you have maintained today. That is very important, and it shows your confidence also and your humility at the same time. So those are very important qualities. All other aspects, I think you are wonderful. Nothing, and in some areas, if you are able to give some out-of-box solutions, some innovative thinking, some unique ideas, please go ahead.
Yes.
And wait for an opportunity for the board member to ask you a question on Bollywood songs. If you get that opportunity to sing a song, use that opportunity to its full potential.
Yes.
And you will be doing you're a good singer, so you will be able to impress the board like anything. It will add further to your personality. Wish you all the best from our side. If you have any specific question to ask, feel free to ask.
No, sir. No specific.
All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.